A deep look into 2025, why America's closest allies are issuing travel warnings. Have you noticed a massive shift in 2025 that almost nobody is talking about? 6 of America's closest allies have issued official travel warnings for their citizens visiting the United States. These aren't random advisories, they stem from a mix of serious concerns, from tightening immigration rules and political unrest to natural disasters and rising risks for the LGBTQ+ community. Some of these countries might be expected, but others are a complete surprise. The real question is, are these just typical political maneuvers, or is something deeper at play that could reshape how the world views America for years to come? Let's break down each country's concerns, starting with one of America's closest neighbors. 1. Canada, a shocking shift in a close relationship. Canada is the largest and closest travel partner of the U.S. In 2024 alone, more than 20 million Canadians crossed the border, spending over $20 billion. With a shared border and long-standing friendship, traveling to the U.S. has been a habit for millions of Canadian families, from winter getaways in Florida to weekend shopping trips in New York. But in 2025, everything changed. On April 11th, the Canadian government updated its travel guidance for the U.S., requiring any Canadian citizen staying for more than 30 days to register with U.S. immigration authorities. Failing to do so could result in fines or criminal charges. While this rule existed on paper, it had almost never been enforced for Canadians before, making this a major shock. The reaction was immediate: frustration, annoyance, and cancelled trips. Canadian airlines like Air Canada and WestJet, which once thrived on U.S. routes, were forced to reduce capacity. Travel agencies reported a decline in U.S. bookings while trips to Europe and Mexico surged. This is particularly worrying for U.S. states like Florida, California, New York, and Texas, which rely heavily on Canadian tourist dollars. 2. China, the high-spending tourist market pulls back. In early April, the Chinese government issued a blunt statement: traveling to the U.S. is at your own risk. China's Ministry of Culture and Tourism cited 2 main concerns: the increasingly strained U.S.-China trade relationship and the unpredictable domestic security situation in the U.S. This isn't just diplomatic theater, it represents a significant economic and symbolic shift. For years, Chinese travelers have been the backbone of U.S. tourism, known for their high spending on luxury goods and lavish trips. One report noted that, on average, a Chinese visitor spends twice as much as a European traveler in the U.S. Any decline from this market is a massive blow to an already fragile U.S. tourism sector recovering from the pandemic. Beijing's message is clear: we no longer trust that the U.S. can keep our citizens safe. According to the U.S. Travel Association, inbound tourism from Asia, particularly China, remains 25% below pre-pandemic levels. Cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York, which rely on Chinese visitors, have become noticeably quieter. Experts point out that while the 3. The United Kingdom, special relationship under strain. The US and the UK have long prided themselves on a special relationship that extends beyond politics into culture and tourism. But today, that bond is being tested by subtle, yet significant, travel advisories. In March 2025, the British government updated its guidance for the US. The phrase, "entry rules are enforced," was replaced with, "entry rules are strictly enforced." This single word sends a powerful signal: British travelers should prepare for much stricter and less predictable procedures. The new guidance warns that even with valid paperwork, travelers could be denied entry without explanation. This isn't an empty threat. An increasing number of British travelers have been held at U.S. airports for hours and sent home without a clear reason. By June, the British government added an even broader advisory, stating, no trip can be guaranteed completely safe, citing potential protests, riots, or civil unrest. For Britons used to hassle-free U.S. travel, this has been a shock. Travel agencies report clients hesitating and asking more questions. Online travel forums are now flooded with questions like, is it still safe to go? For many in the UK, the US was once a cultural sibling and a top vacation spot. Now, a big question is forming in their minds: are the risks and uncertainty still worth it? 4. Australia, navigating a bureaucratic maze. Australia has long been a close ally of the US in every sense. Australians frequently travel to the US for study, work, or tourism, enjoying everything from bustling cities to the natural beauty of the western states. These trips were traditionally seen as easy and convenient. By 2025, that has changed. The cause isn't political tension but a series of new, cumbersome regulations. In April, Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, DFAT, updated its advisory, with the most shocking point being that Australian citizens should be prepared for US immigration officers to inspect their personal electronic devices, including texts, emails, and photos. If anything is deemed unsatisfactory, entry can be denied immediately. On top of this, a new rule requires Australians staying for more than 30 days to register with immigration authorities. For many, this feels less like an open door and more like a bureaucratic maze. The advisory also highlights risks in areas prone to protests or social unrest and warns of dangers like wildfires. The results are clear. Intrepid Travel, a leading Australian tour company, reported a 25% drop in bookings to the US this year, while bookings to other global destinations surged 14%. For Australians who once saw the US as an easy destination, these new warnings send a clear message: proceed with extreme caution. The image of the US as an accessible destination is eroding, and these effects could persist for years. 5. Germany, new obstacles for a consistent ally. Germany has long been a consistent source of European tourists to the US. Germans love road trips across the country and spend generously. But by March 2025, the German government took an unusual step, warning its citizens that visa waivers, the widely used travel permits, no longer guarantee entry. There have been numerous cases of German travelers with valid documents being stopped at airports, held for hours, and sent back. The cited reason: US border policies are constantly changing and increasingly unpredictable. There's an even more sensitive issue: gender identity. Germany now legally recognizes gender markers beyond male and female, but the US does not. US entry forms require a declaration of either male or female. If your passport lists a different gender, you could be flagged for special screening and denied entry. The German government has issued specific guidance for transgender and non-binary travelers, advising them to contact the US Embassy before planning a trip. Beyond that, Germany also warns citizens about the risk of political violence, especially around election times, and highlights high crime rates and natural disasters like wildfires. For Germans who once dreamed of a US road trip, that dream now comes with paperwork, unpredictable obstacles, and a great deal of anxiety. 6. Ireland, a cultural connection under threat. For the Irish, traveling to the US has long been a rite of passage, given the deep cultural ties and centuries-old community in America. Trips to New York, Boston, or Chicago have always been about more than just sightseeing, they're about cultural connection. But by March 2025, the Irish government officially shifted its travel guidance for its citizens to exercise caution, especially if you belong to a vulnerable group. This short sentence is enough to make many people pause. Like Germany, Ireland is concerned about the new US policy requiring travelers to declare their gender based on sex assigned at birth, creating a direct conflict for passports listing a different gender. The warning isn't limited to gender. The Irish government also flagged controversial state laws in the US, such as those in Arizona, South Carolina, and Georgia, where police can check immigration documents based on personal suspicion. For Irish travelers, this creates a sense of unease that even a casual stroll could lead to being asked for papers. While the Irish guidance still reassures citizens that most trips are safe, the tone has clearly shifted from "enjoy your trip" to "be prepared for the worst-case scenario." This subtle but significant change shows that even a country with historical ties as close as Ireland cannot ignore the emerging risks. Conclusion. The US remains a land of opportunity with experiences you can't find anywhere else. But that allure now comes with a long list of warnings and uncertainties, prompting many to pause and ask themselves, is it really worth the gamble for a vacation? As this trend takes shape, more and more travelers from these once loyal countries are opting for destinations that are easier to navigate, involve less paperwork, and, most importantly, carry fewer risks. All the content in this video was compiled from trade reports, public data, and official policy documents as of August 2025. This video is not political propaganda and does not represent any government. The only goal here is to offer a different perspective so none of us get left behind.